Hello, we are from Group 4, and I'm Lara Satinda Shavira, and my other group mates, Aung Aung San and Bobo San. We are going to talk about the assessment 1, which is site analysis of Heirisson Island. In this PDF or presentation, I'm going to talk about the historical and the cultural of the Heirisson Island. Firstly, I'm going to talk about the history. So, Heirisson Island is largely modified island. The current topography and shape is a result of engineered changes, and it's still known as Aboriginal Traditional Association. So, prior of the European arrival, the Swan River comprised several smaller islands surrounded by the mudflats. The area of the mudflats and island are acknowledged in early map as a Matagara. All forms derive from the Noongar words meaning clean deep. Those mudflats were an important strategic location for the Aboriginal group who occupied the area on either side of the river prior to and during the European arrival. Also, the mudflats were important as the crossing from north to south for trade, religious ceremony, social interaction, and economic activity. Since the establishment of the Swan River colony, Matagorop has been subject to the development associated with construction of the causeway and efforts and make the Swan River navigable. The construction disturbed Aboriginal land use. The changes resulted in reshaping of the island into a single island known as Heirisson Island. And also the bridge was built in 1943 and rebuilt in 1960 that will explain further in historical shape. This land has been a protest site in 1978 and 1984 about raising awareness of living conditions and the need to protect Aboriginal culture, and their establishment of the Noongar Town Embassy in 2012, and the camp in the 2015 that will explain further in the next page. The Yagan statue also revealed in the 1984 in the Heirisson Island. So that's all the brief about the Heirisson Island history. Next, I'm going to talk about the historical shape. As we know that Heirisson Island is a largely modified island and it's changing time by time. So as you can see in the pictures, it's changing in 1870 and 1900, 1930 and 1970. So in here, historically the area consists of two small islands surrounded by the mudflats, which made it a natural point for crossing a river. And in 1843, a tall bridge was constructed over the island and the mudflats close to the current location. So this one is like first bridge, and they rebuilt it 1860s. Next, when the mudflats were dredged to allow boats to travel upriver, the material was used to join the two islands together, creating a single island. So in 1900, they dredged all the islands, so they combining or joining all the islands together. And Heirisson Island has reached its current size by 1930, following further dredging of building rubble, sand, and soil. And in 1955, the existing causeway was constructed, effectively dividing the island into two distinct areas. So the bridges is divided to different areas, this one and this one. And the island remained undeveloped until the major landscaping works in the late 1970s, which transformed the island into its current parkland setting that supports low-impact recreational activities. In 1975, Heirisson Island was placed in the city of Perth as a class reserve. So in here, they rebuilt again in the bridge in 1955, and this one the landscaping of Heirisson Island. And next, I'm going to talk about Yegan. Who doesn't know Yegan? Yegan is a Nuer leader. He was born circa 1755. He also was a resistance fighter during the early years of the Swan River colony. He was shot dead by the shelters in July 1833 after a 30-pound bounty was placed on his head because he spared a number of Britons to death during the Nuer resistance to British claims over their land. After he killed, they cut off his head and skinned his back to obtain his tribal markings. And his head was shipped to Britain to be studied and displayed in Liverpool, and his body was buried and the head returned to Perth in 1997. Then, Robert Hitchcock carved the Yegan statue, and it was erected on September 11, 1984. It is located on the Heirisson Island, immediately to the east of the Perth CBD. A rather lonely and isolated place, this statue is bronze, nude, seems slightly larger than the life size, and is a fine piece of craftsmanship. Yegan stands still, tall with a spear head horizontally across his shoulder, gazing out over the Swan River, and there's a plaque below the statue describing his life. So, in my opinion, why the craftsman making Yegan like stand still and with the spear head staying gazing around the Swan River is like when he's in the real life, he gazing out for the shelters and for the Swan River colony as well. Fanny Balbuk Euro was born at Matagorod 1840. Fanny Balbuk witnessed the devastation of her traditional lands by the early Swan River colony. She would walk through the area of the city of Perth, naming every feature and tradition of the land, and recalled the part played by her mother and grandmother in the kangaroo hunt at King's Park. Sigara Zamia wrote on St. George Terrace in the 1890s. Perth's railway station was built on the Swan, where she gathered eggs and caught the turtles and crayfish. Balbuk's grandmother is buried in the grounds of the government house, and she would stand at the gates where her grandmother buried girl lay, encouraging those who lived inside. In 1907, she attended a luncheon at the Karakata Club with the Daisy Bates, and she gave information about the traditional Nuer lands in the Perth area. Last but not least, I'm going to talk about the Tan Embassy. Who doesn't know Tan Embassy? It's all about the Aboriginal or native title. They claiming for the justice to the government. So on February 12, 2012, people concerned with native title negotiations between government and Nuer people. News reports on the Nuer embassy initially focused on demands for the justice and recognition of native title, but this focus soon shifted to the illegality of camping at Heirisson Island. Then, on 17th of February, Frank Edwards, CEO of Sitting Embassy City of Perth, attempted to serve embassy members with a council eviction, which Numer representative responded by visiting Council House to requesting a 19th century document that would revert to. Next, on 19th of February, 50 police officers and council rangers were sent to dismantle the embassy while they were still sleeping inside. And on 21st of February, Members went to the government house to deliver a letter to the governor and seeking proof that the state had official jurisdiction over the Aboriginal people. After 2 days, police and council rangers came to dismantle the embassy, but it still endured. Next, on the 22nd March, more than 50 riot police, mounted police, and council rangers swept across the island to clean up the embassy, forced to surrender their tents, but they still endured until they got the justice. Then I will pass my presentation to my friend Aung San that going to talk about the mapping and everything.
Thank you, Laras. Now I will be talking about the physical study to introduce as a first thing. So the main thing that I want to talk about in physical study is based on the trees, and later it will expand to the barriers and through the void study. So now in types of tree study, we categorize tree study according to the experience that we felt in visually and we try to categorize them with size, as you can see here, size and the color, such as calmness, heaviness, and directions. So you can also see that most of the trees are dense in this vast area, and it will be explained far more in detail in coming slides. So in natural barrier become by the group of trees which are located along the side of the Heirisson Island near the river. So they try to block the view, which create a sense of security and give more. So you can see that there is more security in west than in east. So in here it's clear so that there is only two parts, but in west part you can see that there are many barriers which block the view. And the next we talk about the void. The void become through the existing of the trees, because without the trees there will be a lot of void, but the void become like clearly seen in the middle, and in here this void have a sense of openness which give us more fresh air and coolness in this area like this. And you can also see in the document, you can see that there are void highlighted in yellow in here also, and in here too. This is in near the lake which is located around here, and it is also located beside the river which is located near here. So now I'm going to like to continue to land use study. In land use study, we classify the land use according to the density of trees and the sound study. So we classify them with natural sense and artificial sense, which will be further discussed in the next slides. So in tree density, we can firstly interestingly see that there is a swamp which is located in here near the lake, which is in the west side of the island. And when you look overall, you can see that there are more dense trees located in the west side. For example, in here you can see that it is shown that there are lots of trees here and lots of trees here, but in the east side the trees are dispersed and very unorganized. And when you look to the sound, now we analyze the sound with the sensation that we got. There are like 5 sounds. Firstly, road and water, nature, wind, and bridge. In this sound, the most occupying sound is the wind, because the wind is always blowing every part. For example, this part of the wind, which is blowing near the river, so you can hear the voice here. So this is a sparking sensation which gives us like a very sparky and like active sensation. However, when you go to the nature part, but you will hear a sound of the bird, and now I will be demonstrating that. So you can see that the sound is pretty squeaky and very hyperactive sound. However, it is like combination of wind, trees, and bird sound. Because of that, it is pretty mixed. However, when you go to the bridge, there are two type of sound. Like in first bridge, you can hear this sound. So this sound gave a rough sensation to our experience. However, when you go to the next bridge, which is located here, it is pretty different. So as you can see, the sound is usually absorbed, and you can also hear the road, which give a sense of dizziness. Now I'm going to demonstrate that too. So in next part, we try to classify the lands according to these two kind of map, and because of in here there is a large sound inflation going on, so I classify them into artificial sense, because it is near the traffic and it is pretty noisy, and the wind noise is also mixing, and you can see the tree density is also really less, so which create an experience of like park walking instead, for the pedestrian, not for exploration. However, if you look here, there's an exploration, and even you have the animals like wild duck and kangaroos. However, when you look in artificial side, you can see that mostly like as typical birds, which are like fishing around it. So now we are going to talk about the journey. Journey is also one of the important theme that we got. So we firstly went to the enters to the sense of new world, which is located here. So it gives like new part of the world, because there is a fan located here. And when you go to the next part, you can go, and when we go to the first encounter of heaviness, you can see that very dense trees is introduced. And next step, when we go to the next journey, we go to we have seen the natural barriers, which is located here. So you can see the highlight of natural barriers here, and we finally reach to the peak of the hill, which is located in here. So it is a place of like spirituality and very high, and there is a Jagan statue, so it becomes very spiritual, and like you can see that wind is always going up and like uplifting your sensations. But In this part, there is a new dimension created, like very tall trees which create a very large volume, and like when you go to the next, it create very dramatic decrease in the volume, which is located here. And after that, we return to the tunnel and we sense a numbness, which is created by the wind blowing inwards and sound provided that I have shown, and the smoothness of the pathway. So the pathway are also shown here, like rough, smooth, and the softness. So everything is here located, and you can see that the wind is always blowing like this direction. So all the wind are always entering almost every part of the island. And after that, we are introduced to the modern style park, so where very less dense trees are there and like smooth pathway are located. And then we finally found the new sensation, hidden sensation called as, because there is a, if you see you can see that there is a heavy look. However, when you go inside, there is like a tunnel look which create a void, and you can like go through it like a threshold. So now I'm going to pass to Brian to talk about the bridges, which is the part B of our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now I will firstly introduce about the Vietnam Veteran Memorials. So it was the design by the Maya Lin, who is the Asian American girl, and the memorial is located in Washington D.C., United States. And the year the memorial was built is 1983, and the architect designed this memorial when she was 18 years old. She won a competition. So by looking at this memorial, the structure type is pretty solid, as you can see in the 3D models and plans. And, so the design statement of the structure is to unite past and present time to create the memorial. So moving on to the next page. So as you can see, there is only one primary structure, which is the ground, and also there's secondary structure, secondary structure elements, which it can be, there's two structure element, which is the granite walls and flooring, and you can also clearly see it in the perspective drawing. So to talk about the loads and tension, you can clearly see there are two types of loads, which are human loads, or in other words life loads, and dead loads by the granite walls and flooring. However, analyzing about the tension part, you can see it is natural, because tension are formed from the grounds goes against the both loads on it. So moving on to the next bridge. The next bridge design is called the Brick Pit Ring, which is located in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia, and it was built in 2005 by Dutch birch block architect. So looking at these diagrams and pictures, you can clearly see that the structure is the skeleton structure, and the main intention of design is to protect green and golden bell frogs, which are endangered species that are living there, through providing the outdoor exhibition, so like people can see around the lake, and it is also protected the green. So from the perspective of the load and tension, we are able to identify that the high compression forces are located in this area, But when you look at structurally, you can see that the bridge has two primary structures which are highlighted in red. You can clearly see it in in sections and also in perspective pictures, and the secondary elements is highlighted in blue, and moreover there are also tertiary elements which are the elements are supported between them, so which are also highlighted in green. So finally, the final bridge is Chandler Bridge, which is designed by multi architects, and it is located in Dombrim, Austria. So it was built in 2005 with the you can clearly see that in pictures and diagram it is the suffix structure type, and the main ideas of the design is to mimic the frozen dynamic of the mountains and roads. So when we look at the plans and drawing, the primary elements are directly laid on the rocks of the mountain that you and so you moving on to the next page, you can the load from the load and tension part, you can see that there are secondary elements which are is reinforced concrete and the supports, and moreover you can also find the tertiary elements which it's the slab inside the bridge. Also there are live loads and dead loads that's moving across the bridge, so like it can also cause compressions and tensions that you can clearly see in diagrams. Thank you very much.